Well, as you've been hearing, the 22nd Winter Olympic Games opens in Sochi, Russia today. Here's a look at some of the key facts and figures related to what appears to be among the most expensive Olympics ever. It's expected to have cost at least $50 billion. That's including infrastructure work in and around Sochi. But that's 4 times the amount that was originally estimated. Around 3 billion people are expected to watch it on television, and around 265,000 litres of borscht, that's traditional beet soup, is expected to be served by cooks during the course of the Games. That last figure is particularly important. Well, Allison Stewart is a fellow at Oxford Side Business School. She joins us live from Oxford. And Alexander Nekrasov is a former Kremlin economic advisor to Boris Yeltsin, and he's here in the studio with me. Alexander, if I could just begin with you. Big numbers, that $50 billion price tag, is it worth it?
Well, as you mentioned already, it's not just the Olympics, it's infrastructure inside Sochi and outside Sochi. For example, there was a new airport built in Adler, which is in this amount. Sochi never had a proper airport anywhere in its vicinity. Roads, tunnels, railroads, hotels. The infrastructure was improved to such an extent that in the seaside resort it would be very surprising if money is not made afterwards, after the Olympics. And also, of course, Sochi is going to be used for many other occasions. For example, in October there will be the first Formula Grand Prix, F1 Grand Prix in Russia, and it will be staged in Sochi. That's an money spinner. The G8 summit will take place in Sochi in the summer. So this is a place that's going to be making money. And of course the tourist flow, because it's one of the most favorite destinations in Russia. And I expect many more tourists from Russia will be coming to Sochi. So I think it's a misconception that 50 billion went into the Olympics. I think Olympics were probably 15 billion rather than 50. The rest was infrastructure all across the area, not just in Sochi.
OK, but you say 15 billion probably. Official figures still say that the amount that was pumped into the Olympics was more around 3-4 billion. Of course, we're going to have to wait for clarification as to what that number actually was. But if I could just turn to Allison Stewart over in Oxford. Allison, that same question to you, though. We were just hearing from Alexander that these grand infrastructure projects, which the money isn't just going to the Games, it is going into roads, it's going into airports and things, and that is going to bring economic rewards. But is it going to bring enough of an economic reward to justify that amount, quadruple the amount that was originally forecast to be spent?
Well, that's really the question, isn't it? You know, the Olympics are only really valuable for what's left over as an economic legacy after the Games. You know, investing in the Olympics themselves generally isn't that much of a moneymaker, but actually having that better infrastructure on an ongoing basis. As you say, it remains to be seen exactly how much has been spent. We have that $50 billion headline figure from Dmitry Kozak, the Deputy Prime Minister of Russia, who announced that last year, but we really have no idea at the moment of how that breaks down. We don't know how much of that really has gone to the Olympics or to Olympics-related sports infrastructure as compared to infrastructure in the local community.
But what about some of these other numbers? The 3 billion people expected to watch it on television and things. The amount of international attention that an Olympic Games, wherever it's hosted, generates. Surely that in itself also will lead to some sort of economic reward.
Certainly, there's been a lot of study into whether or not there are benefits from tourism as a result of the Games, so really increasing the profile of the city. One of the objectives of actually staging the Games in Sochi was to really up the profile of Sochi on the world stage and to really make it a destination for winter sports events. As Alexander said, it's generally seen as a seaside resort town, so I think that remains to be seen, whether or not we can actually attract more people to Sochi after the Games.
Alexander, just briefly to you now, if you were still acting as a Kremlin advisor, would you have advised that this amount of money was worth being spent on these Games?
Well, I don't think I would have been asked about that, but I'll be honest with you, I think that the mere fact that the Russian government has announced the figures, look at the London Olympics, nobody still knows how much they spent. And don't forget another thing, Russia has money to spend, 500 billion at least, and Britain was in debt. So no, I don't think it's a problem.
OK, Alexander Nekrasov, former Kremlin advisor, Allison Stewart in Oxford, both of you, many thanks for joining us here on the programme. You're watching World Business Report from me and the team. Bye for now.